Hi everyone, and welcome back to my video. Everyone is well aware of the situation that is going on right now. Ben and I live in a rural part of North Dakota. Even though we're not at the middle and the heart of a lot of what is going on right now, there's still other ways that it affects us. Our district was actually already shut down for spring break this week, so it just kind of coincided with spring break. So as of right now, we have the week off and they will reassess at the end of the week. And the virus going on, there's a lot of people that could potentially lose their jobs from it, and the economy really taking a big crash. Stocks going down, oil prices going down, gas prices going down. Before I moved here, I'd be excited about gas prices moving down. But now that my husband works in the oil industry, gas prices going down means that work here is going down. We want work to be steady and good here, and that's threatening when it's not. Thankfully, right now, Ben does not have an office job. He has a job where he gets in his work vehicle and he drives from here out to the locations that he has to go and check on to monitor them and make sure they're meeting regulations. The people that are in the office are not working right now, at the office at least. But thankfully, like I said, you have to go there. He can just go right out and do his work. With everything that's going on, I have read so much. I read so many articles, so many headlines, press releases. I have watched a lot of that. I've read a lot of information about what is going on. I do think that this is already completely around us. It's around everyone. It's just like a general cold. You get very mild symptoms. So you could wake up one day and have a stuffy nose. You could wake up one day and have a cough. You could wake up and just be a little harder to breathe. And then you could wake up the next day and be fine. You just want to stay home as much as we are able to help offset how quickly this is spreading and to take out an exponential factor that you could be for other people. We all know someone, whether you're aware of it or not, that has some sort of health history, that if they came into contact with something like this or the flu or anything else, those immunocompromised people could die from this. It could kill them. Like I said, I am not a professional. I have just done a lot of reading. Do your own research. Take this time and stay in when they tell you to stay in. Listen to what they say in their advisory. It may seem silly because we haven't ever lived through, I have never lived through a period where they've done something this extreme, but find the goodness in this situation and get to just be with your family without having the burden of your schedule imposing on that. There's so many different things that pop up when something like this is going around. I have really severe complex PTSD from my childhood. Part of that is that I have really high anxiety. I'm constantly looking for worst case scenario always. My mind just goes over things and over things and over things. And when something like this is going on, when this pandemic is out there and this is happening globally and all these people are sick and people aren't taking it seriously, there's this panic that starts to spread and fear and anxiety for me. It's overwhelming, it's crippling, and it's terrifying that something like this could cause this much panic. I don't think that the panic is because you could die from this. I think the panic is because there's too much media presence and how people are reacting in this situation. You see the reality and the rawness of things and how people are when they are put to the test and when they are in a position where they feel afraid and scared and anxious and overwhelmed and mad and out of control. Then you get to see who they are and what they really believe. I'm a Christian. There's so much that I'm still learning, that I'm struggling with every single day. just because I have a relationship with God doesn't exclude me from everything that is happening around the world and how I react to it. And God is really using this earthly trial, something that seems so negative and so daunting and overwhelming and out of our control. He doesn't want us to go through this. But because that's the world we live in, we are gonna be exposed to this sort of thing. And when something like this happens, he takes it and he has a whole plan of redemption. In the last 2 weeks, I have been really overwhelmed, really frustrated, feeling out of control, feeling afraid. He has used this to bring to light some really dark, raw, ugly flaws, and one in particular that I wanted to talk about. Hopefully, by me talking about this, it can help you, and maybe you can relate to this on some level and have something else that you are fighting, that God is using this external situation to show you a characteristic that maybe needs a little bit more work. The other day, I was talking to one of my friends, and it just clicked that this is what God was like this has to get taken care of. I have a very, very deep-rooted fear of lack or fear of not having enough. I have a fear of not having enough money, not having enough time, not having enough work. For my grandpa, there was never enough work for him. He went through so many jobs. He would get laid off, not having enough clothes, not having enough food to eat or to fill our house. From the time that I was a baby, I learned that I was never enough, that my mom and my dad didn't want me, and everyone at the time of my childhood was fighting over who could have me, but no one really cared about actually having me, and no one really saw me. I just existed, and my existence was never enough. As a child, that got so intertwined with who I was and who I am that it's still there underneath a lot of things that God has slowly peeled back the layer on and worked on. Now it's this time that he is really bringing this up and saying that this lack and the feeling of not being enough and thinking that I will never have enough and not being content with the things that I have, he is really exposing that and saying, look, like, this is ugly. I don't want anything to do with being like that. It's really hard to be content with yourself when you don't know how to. You've never practiced that. I know it sounds silly, but what kind of made me realize some of this, I saw pictures of everyone posting the shelves empty, that there's no more toilet paper, there was no more diapers, there was no more wipes, there was no more formula, the Tylenol was going out. I saw all these empty shelves, and so the very next day I went around town and I made sure that I got at least 2. Granted we were out of most of these things, but I got at least 2 of every single one of those things because I was afraid that I would not be able to get it. And it was out of an act of, this is mine, I need to go get it, and I don't want to run out, and I don't want to be the one who doesn't have it in that situation. There's not going to be enough of it, and so I need to go get it now. And it wasn't just, okay, grab one or grab enough for us as a family of 6. It was grab enough for a family of 6 and another one just in case. Then the next day or two, I was feeling really, really guilty and really frustrated at the way that I had done that I had just gone out and added to that panic, which is exactly what is going on right now, is this underlying panic. God really showed me that that was not okay for me to act that way. I was human, and I did go do that. And then I sat back and realized that that was not okay, because I acted out of fear. I acted out of panic. And fear is not of God. Fear and panic and anxiety and being overwhelmed or frustrated or feeling out of control are not things that come from God. When I feel fear, that should be a warning to me that I have not completely surrendered something to Him, that I still need to go back and pray. God has always provided for me. He's always provided for Ben and I. He has always provided for us and our 4 kids. And even though it may not have seemed like it in the moment sometimes, He has always provided in such incredible, amazing ways that I've seen. And I am so grateful that I've been able to see those things. And even though I have seen those things happen, and I do believe that God will provide for us and that He will take care of us, and I have seen Him prove it over and over again, yet when push comes to shove and I get thrown in the fire, how do I act? How do you act? How do we act? Fear is what came out. This fear that there wouldn't be enough, that somehow everything in the world would get bought up and I would not be able to get any more ever. And that was panic, and that was acting out of not trusting Him. It was reacting out of anger and frustration and overwhelm and fear. And I keep hearing over and over again Him asking if I trust Him. If I really, really trust Him. Down to the core of my heart and my bones, do I really trust what God says? When it comes down to it, do you really believe what God tells you and what God says to us? Do you believe what He tells us in the Bible, in His book of truth? Do you believe it to be true? Do you believe that you are capable of amazing miracles, capable of healing and redemption and love, and to experience living by the Spirit and not by the flesh? And when it comes to these earthly trials and these things that God puts you through, is He revealing a lesson that you still are needing to learn, or a characteristic that He just needs to work on more? And when He does do that, are you aware of it? Are you paying attention to it? Are you looking and realizing that feeling these things should be a trigger and a prompt for us to pray and give it over to Him? I want so badly to be the woman who trusts God with every inch of her soul, and for there not to be a single part of me that questions His ability or the fact that He is in control. And I don't want to question Him or His intentions or His love. I want to know in every single inch, in every single part of my soul and my body and my heart, I want to know that I can trust Him and that He is going to provide and take care of me. Because of the trauma that I grew up with and the PTSD and anxiety and all of these other things that I have going on, life, which every single one of us has our own battles that we are fighting, there is this core belief underneath all of it that is so deep, that puts this barrier up in my ability to trust him with everything, with life and death. When it comes to it, like, do you really believe? Do you believe that he's capable, that he could bring someone back to life, that he could breathe life into you? Do you believe that he is able to do those things? Do I trust him that he hears my prayers and that he answers my prayers and that he is working on doing good, amazing, incredible, miraculous things all the time? That he's going to do what he says he's going to do? I have a prayer list that I keep on my phone. 3 months ago, I added a prayer to my list, and that was a prayer for contentment, to be content, and for him to take away fear of lack that I had, of never having enough. And along comes this trial. God showed me that this is the year of redemption. I know that he is working on redeeming my heart and these parts that I just don't like having there. It's exposing to admit that you have certain character flaws and you're not proud of them. And when things come to push and shove, that sometimes those negative flaws can be what come out when you get squeezed. I know that God has a big plan for my life, and he has a big plan for your life. I have no idea what that plan is. I have no idea what he is going to do, but I am here and I am willing to be a part of whatever he wants me to do. I can only come as a broken human that I am and give this broken mess over to him. I know that he is showing me in this season and in this trial that this fear of lack and the inability to be content, that these are things that need to be shaken off. They needed to be carefully taken out of the root system that is established and created over the last 27 years of my life. He takes these different areas that are hiding in the corner in the darkness away from light, and he gently, in our time when we're ready, brings it out into the light and just shows us and gives us the option as to whether or not we're going to deal with it. And until we say, hey, I'm going to work on this and I want you to work on it, or I don't know how to work on this, I can't deal with it because every time I've attempted to deal with it in the past, I just shoved it down further and further and further and ignored that it was a thing. And then something happens and I get put to the fire, and that thing that I shoved way down there comes right out to the front. And he keeps reminding us and giving us this awareness that I'm willing to work on it. You need to work on it. You need to let me work on it. But I'm not going to do it until you say it's okay for me to do it. And then once you've said that it's okay for me to work on this, we're going to work on it together. And it's going to take a lot of work because it's established a lot of roots. However long it takes us to learn that lesson is how long he will spend. And sometimes that can take a really long time. It can take years and years and years for you to learn a lesson. Or you learn a lesson and then you backtrack because that's what you know. I really do think that this is being shown the light because he cannot bring me into a season of fruitfulness and full redemption without first removing this root and replacing it with love and contentment and peace that surpasses all understanding and trust. An ability to trust him when he says something, to know that he is speaking truth. When I read something in the Bible, to know that it is truth, that could happen, that I am capable of those things, that I am what he says I am in the Bible. I am worthy because he says I'm worthy, and to truly believe that. And I have really been working on, where is my focus? Am I focusing on him, or am I focusing on all this stuff going on around me? And if I'm feeling afraid, if I'm feeling fearful, if I'm feeling unworthy, anxious, overwhelmed, frustrated, out of control, those are all just signs that I am not focused on him. It's okay for us to feel that way, but it's so critical for us to see that and be aware of it and say, no, like, no, I am not going to let these things rule my mind, because I have the authority and the power and a sound mind. And I am not supposed to feel fear like this. This is not from God. You can choose right here in this moment. You have a choice. Are you going to be frustrated and upset and not come to him with it? Or are you going to make the choice to stop and pray and to refuse to let the negative things weigh you down? Ask God to take them and release them to him, and don't pick them back up. What is some practical things that are helpful for me in the middle of all of this? First of all, prayer. Keep your focus on God. Take a moment and give it over to him. And if you have to do it over and over and over again until you feel his peace, then keep doing it. If you don't know what to pray, you don't know what's going on, you don't know how to deal with the feelings you're feeling, tell that to him. Tell him you don't know how to pray to him. You don't know what to say to him. 2, it is great to be informed, but there is also a line between being informed and having way too much information and overwhelming yourself. At some point, you need to put a limit on your access. Number 3, something that I did last night that was really helpful. I sat down with a blank piece of paper and I just wrote. I wrote how I was feeling, that I had acted out of fear, and that wasn't the way that I wanted to act, and what I thought God was trying to talk to me and share with me. And that was really helpful to just clear my mind and get some of the things out. And then the last thing is that we need to remember in the middle of all of this to be grateful. Just because I feel out of control or anxious or overwhelmed does not negate the thousands of things that he has done. Write down 10 things that you are grateful for. God wants us to take these things to him above all else, to surrender them and to give it over to him, and to not give in to the fear and the overwhelm and the chaos that is happening. And if we do, to acknowledge it, to be humble and to be vulnerable and to give it over to him as the ugly, raw bits of it that it is, and know that he can redeem it. Whatever you are going through, however you feel with everything going on, whether it's related to what is going on in the world right now, or whether it's just life that's going on, I just pray for you, and I pray that God is able to come and be there, right there with you where you are, and in his own way show you love and compassion and help work on your character. And especially with things going on, that you feel peace and contentment and not fear as the unexpected is going on all around us, that you release all of that and let go of the things that are not in your control and be filled with his peace. Because I know that we could all use more of that in the chaos that is surrounding us, and drawing our focus and attention off of the one and only person that our attention should be on. Thanks for watching. Remember to subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.